So this is Baruch Fleischman at the Tikkun Elevator Kollel, and we're going to be working on the Siburi Maisios of Rabbi Nachman at BRESLOV. The Siburi Maisios, in this particular version, it actually has a pirush, or what is called a pirush rahut, a running commentary, explaining the meaning of the words of the story, because the stories are not so simple. So the last time I tried one, and I was very, very happy. It's a very short story about the son who's made out of precious jewels, the prince made out of precious jewels. And I thought that worked out good, but it's very short. So now over here we're coming over to the beginning, because Rabbi Nachman was a stickler for telling us, I think stickler's a not exact word, but the suggestion that he makes to all of us is to begin at the beginning of books and go through them that way. And it actually really is a terrific system. And also he said learn lightly. Don't make it into a big project. And that's why stickler is the wrong word, because that implies being strict about things. And Rabbi Nachman was against being strict. He really think the main thing is, as I heard someone say the other day, the rabbi at the Kollel here in Boca Raton, Rabbi May, he said it's where they learn the Daf Yomi all day long. I've said there's all kinds of people learning the Daf. He says it's not the Daf that counts. It's the Yomi. It's the day. In other words, putting in the time. Whether you understand it or you really get the whole thing, the main thing is appreciating the savor of the words themselves and working over them. So here we go. Now we're going to start with the first story. And we see over here in the Mafteach of Maisios, so this is actually this is really telling you the different stories. Maisios here, it means the stories, their deeds. And there's actually a Kabbalistic and a very deep meaning in all of these. And this is brought to us in a pirush, which it calls here the Nare a parsimon. Now, parsimon is a sweet spice, a fragrance of some sort. I'm not sure. Obviously, it's the word persimmon. I'm not sure that persimmon is exactly what a parsimon is, but these are rivers of the parsimon. So let's come over here, and this is going to be the first story. There are 10 stories, and we'll just go over them quickly. Ma'avedes Bas Melech, the loss of the princess. Memelech v'Keser, the story about a king and an emperor. Number Gimel is Mechiger, a person who's crippled. Memelech Shagazer Shma, there was a king who made a gezerah to destroy the Jews. Ben Melech Shehoyim Maravonim Tovos, that's the one we learned already from the prince who was made out of precious stones. Memelech of Onov, about a king who was a humble man. Then there was one called Abizvu V'Achavish. This is the fly and the spider. Number 8 is Meirav Uben Yachid. There's a great rabbi who had one son, special son. Number 9 is Mechacham Batam, is the wise man and the simple man. And the last one is Berger Va'ani, from the Berger, which means, I guess, it's a wealthy merchant, and the impoverished man. So those are the names, and I thought it was going to be a good idea as we start. So what I have to do is, before you can get into this pirush, which is really beautiful, and it's going to take some time in the pirush because you can see that it has some arichas to it. We're going to go over here and we're going to read the story on the top. And we'll read it in Hebrew and translate it into English. Get it as good as we can. So the story is a Maisa Echad, Maisa Rishon. This is the first story. Ma'avedes Bas Melech, of the loss of the princess. The loss of the princess, there goes a little bit better. Ma'avedes Bas Melech is the princess. Ana v'amar, so he answered and said, B'derek, on the way, Siparti Maisa Shekol Mi Shehoyoshomo. Along the way, I said over a story that anyone Shehoyoshomo that was able to hear it, Hoyolo Hirko Tshuva, this person had began to develop thoughts of repentance. V'zeu zuhi, and this is the story. So he says like this, and just reading across the top of this, or just to read the story. He says, Maisa b'melech echad, there's a story about a certain king, Shehoyu lo shisha banim b'bas echad, his 6 sons and 1 daughter. So he said, V'osar Abbas, and this daughter that we're talking about here, let me try to get it back into focus. V'osar Abbas choisha cheshuva be'einav ma'od, he really and truly thought this daughter was really special. And he really cherished her the most. And he really got tremendous joy and celebrated with her and all different kinds of things. One time he was talking to her, on some particular day. And he got angry. He was talking to her and he became angry with her. And he said something out of his mouth. Something came out of his mouth. That something that's not good should take you. So he says it in Yiddish. Guter I'm not going to try to go through the Yiddish that well. So he said, that night she went into her room. But in the morning they didn't know where she went. Her father was really anguished. And he went out to seek her. He went here and he went there. So the second, that is the vizier of the Malchus, because he saw that the Melech was so upset, and he said they should give him a servant and a horse and money al Yitzias for his expenses, and they agreed, and he went to seek her. And he sought her for a tremendous amount of additional time, until he finally found her. So now, in parentheses, Rav Shek adds, Biksha, how it was that he sought after her, until he finally found her. Okay? And he went all around everywhere. Zman Rav, for a tremendous amount of time. Of the Marios, of the Sadas, of Yarim. He went through deserts. He went through fields and farms. He went through forests. V'hoya mevaksha Zman Rav, and he sought her for a tremendously long time. V'hoya holech b'midbar, he went into the desert. And he saw there was a pathway over to the side. And he thought to himself, I've been traveling for so long, and I haven't been able to find her. Let me go on in the side path. Maybe I'll come to a place of civilization. And he traveled on that road for a long way. Then he saw a fort in the distance. So he said, and there were many soldiers that were standing around it, all around it. This fort, so this fort, he was very, it was pretty, it was beautiful the way it was built. The Masuka and everything was in art of Masuder, and it was also organized, Ma'od, Imachailos, with all these soldiers. But he was afraid, Mifnei HaChailos, because of the soldiers, and they were armed. Pen lo yanichu, who knows, maybe they wouldn't let him come in to the fort. But he thought to himself, let me go, I'll try it out. I'll test it. So he left the sus, the horse, behind, and he went to the fort. And they let him in. They didn't hold him back at all. The cheder, and he would walk from one room to the next. Nobody stopped him. And he came to the certain palace. And he saw that there was a king there, with a crown on his head. And there were many, many soldiers there. And there was an orchestra. How many different singers there were before him, and music makers. And it was a beautiful, beautiful place. But the Melech, and not anyone in the place at all, lo shaluhu klal, they didn't ask him anything at all. And he saw that there were beautiful spices and wonderful foods to eat. And he went, and he ate, and he went, and then he sat down in a corner, the Rosman, the Asasham, to see what's going to happen over here. And he saw that the king, he commanded to bring the queen. And he went to bring her. They all went to bring her. There was a tremendous commotion, and also tremendous joy that was happening. Oh, the queen is coming, the queen is coming. And the musicians were making music, and they were making tremendous music. Can you imagine the parade and the band and so on and so forth? And now they are bringing in the queen. And they brought a throne for her, and they sat her next to the king. But this was the princess, actually. And he saw her, and he recognized her. So and after that, the queen turned, and Rasa Echad, and she saw that someone was sitting in a corner, and she recognized him. V'amda, she got up from her seat, from her throne, Mikisa, v'halkal the sham, and she went to the corner. V'nagabo, and she touched him. V'sha'alach, and she asked him, Ha'ata makiosi, do you recognize me? V'heishiv lo, and he said, Hein, yes, I do. Ani makirosach, I do recognize you. At he Abbas Melech, Shene'evda, you are the princess who is lost. V'shalo saw, and he asked her, Heich bas lakan, how did you get here? Now, because their father said something, those words he said, that something bad will take you. And let me tell you, the place we're at right now is a place that's not good. So if something bad will take you, that's this place. And he said over to her, your father is very, very upset. And that he's been looking for you for many, many years. Also, and he asked her, how can I get you out of here? It's not possible for you to get me out. That this is the only way you could do this. Choose for yourself a place. And stay there for 1 complete year. And all that time you should yearn after me, to be able to take me out from here. And whenever you have spare time, so you should always be yearning and seeking and looking to figure out how to get me out of here. And you'll fast. So he said, so he said, what? So he said, I guess it means to afflict yourself. And the last day of the year, Mechashana, Tihya Mis'ana, that day you should fast, Velo Sishan Kolcham Me'ez the Ace, and you should not sleep at all from one time to the next. V'holach v'asa came. So he went, and he did like she said. Uv'sof Hashana, at the end of the year, He was fasting. And that ended that year, and he didn't eat anything, and he didn't sleep. And so he went to that place. And he saw a beautiful tree. I read it wrong. And on this were growing apples, beautiful, beautiful apples, ma'od. And they were really very desirous to his eyes. I mean, he saw something that was absolutely delicious. And remember that this person had been fasting. So he stood up and he took one and he ate it. And as soon as he ate that apple, and immediately as he started eating it, sleep fell on this person. And he was sleeping for a tremendous amount of time. But he was there with his horse, and he was there with his servant, and the servant tried to wake him, but it didn't do any good. So then he woke up from his sleep. And he asked the servant, where am I? Where am I up to over here? And he told him this story. That is, that is this servant. The Melech, he said to the vizier, and he said like this, you slept a tremendous amount of time. He said, even for many years. And I ate the apples. So that's how I was able to survive. And it was a tremendous pain for him when he heard this. So he went to this place and they found her. So he went back to the palace, I guess. And she was really in tremendous pain, as she explained to them. Because if I came on that day, you would be able to take me out from here. Because you went 355 days, or 64 days. You went 364 days, and on the last day, you fell asleep. So, and because of that one day, you lost everything. So he said, you don't eat anything kosher. Oh, that's very, very hard, he said. Because on that last day, the Yetzer Hara really overcame it. Now, Rav Shik explains, because it's a little confusing the language exactly how it works. The princess said to him, Sha'ata takel alav hazhara said you takel means it made it light in your eyes, alav. Hazhar, the warning that I said that you can't eat on that last day, but you weren't careful not to eat. Because it turned out to be very simple, very difficult for him to stand through this. Therefore, she says, go to another place. Take a special place for you. V'teshev gam came shana, and you'll right there in supplications and begging and trying to figure out how to get me out. He said, "V'gam came shana, you'll stay the whole year. V'yom ha'achron, now when you get to the last limb, tihya r'shai la'achol, you'll be able to eat. Go ahead, eat. Rak shelo tishan, but don't go to sleep. V'lo tishta yayin, and don't drink any wine that day. K'dei shelo sishan, because it'll put you to sleep. Ki ha'ikar hu hashena, because the main thing is the sleep. V'holav v'asakain, and he did it. 364 days. And he went there and he saw that there was a stream. Now, a mayan is a bubbling spring. What would you say? Like it's a spring. And it was going on, and it was flowing. And it had the picture of Amara Adom. I read it wrong. It had a red appearance, and it had a smell, the scent of wine. B'shal es amash misharish, and he asked the servant, did you ever see that there was a wellspring, and it should have water in it, and it looks reddish, and it has a scent of wine. And he went and he just put his finger in there, put a little to his lips, and it immediately fell, and he went to sleep. Miyad kama shanim, and he slept for many years. Ad shivim shanim, in fact, he slept 70 years. V'hoya holchi, chaylos rabos, and many soldiers came by. In other words, and all of their accompaniment. The servant, while this man is sleeping, he hid himself because of the soldiers. So then came chariots. This I guess the soldiers of special chariots. The agolas and wagons made out of gold. So in other words, something royal. And on that chariot and on those wagons, or this special wagon, he says was sitting the queen, or that is the princess. So she stood over there by him. And he went and he sat next to her and he recognized her. And she tried to wake him up, but he wouldn't wake up. She started to say all the different problems that he had. All so many years, and she was so upset because he worked so hard to get me out. But because one day everything was messed up, that he was able to take me out, but he lost that day. She cried tremendously in regards to this. Such a tremendous feeling of mercy on him, and on me too. That all this time that I am forced to be here, and I'm not able to get out. So she took a little mitpachas, a little note, me'al rosha, from her, it's some kind of an ornament that she took from her head, and she wrote on it, with her own tears. And she left it next to him. And she went back to her chariot, and she returned from that place. So that's it for this beginning share. It was a little longer than I thought. We'll try to get to the next part of it and finish out the story. This is Baruch Fleischman of the Tikkun Elevator Kollel.